Do I look short? Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Savage from South Carolina. This is my 5th Principles First Summit. Our next panel discussion is The Thin Blue Line and the Big Lie, moderated by my friend, Harry Dunn. Thank you. I guess you know a little something about Harry Dunn, right? Harry's an American author, political candidate, and former police officer who served in the United States Capitol Police from 2008 to 2023. Harry and his fellow panelists protected the U.S. Capitol building and are elected leaders on January 6, 2021. Harry is also our very first Principles First Profile and Courage Award recipient. So I'm going to ask Harry to come on the stage and moderate this next panel. You guys may call him Harry Dunn. I call him Hero Dunn.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. So I want y'all to keep that same energy that y'all just gave me as I introduce 3 of my closest friends, brothers, I just think the world of. Like y'all think the world of me and them, but I just think the world of them. And they make this tough task seem very easy and also fun along the way. If you could see our group chat, y'all would be like, what the? So right now I want to bring out my friend, Sergeant Aquilino Gonnell. Keep it going. Daniel Hodges. And Michael Fanone. All right, I get the opportunity, the luxury of doing the interviewing and the moderating. I'm usually being interviewed, so this is new for me, being the interviewer and the moderator. But I want to start by saying to these 3 great men, I appreciate you all. Listen, I appreciate a lot of members of the media, some not so much, but I will take this moment and pat ourselves on the back. Y'all do it, but we don't talk about ourselves and the things that we do, sure. But I want to take this moment and say, if it wasn't for us 4 stubborn SOBs, patriotic SOBs, January 6th would be a thing of the past. Our grit, determination, and perseverance and dedication to our oath, the rule of law, and our principles have made January 6th stay in this front center, and we've refused to let people forget about it. Because they damn sure want to make it go away. I would start like light. A lot of y'all know our stories, the things that we've done, the hell that we faced. Hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it because the alternative is what? Not doing anything at all and standing by and watching the country deteriorate knowing you had an opportunity to do or say something and you didn't. Before I get into it, the conversation, I want to say that, listen, a lot of people are afraid right now of what's going on in this country. You should be. This isn't normal. We shouldn't expect, there isn't a roadmap for what we are experiencing now. We're at a time in this country where history is going to remember us for the things that we did or did not do. There isn't legislation that's going to get us out of where we are now. There isn't a protest, a rally that's going to get us out of this mess that we're in now. What it's going to take is somebody, some group, some people that have moral courage, that are principled individuals that stand up and say that this isn't right, this isn't our country. So I want to start. This question is for Mike. How do you deal with the stress, the mental health of all this shit? If I could say that. Can I say that? All right. A lot of people always ask me, Michael's not on social media. Well, he did start a Substack. So Michael has started a Substack. Please check out his Substack, follow him. He's very insightful. But how do you deal with this? A lot of people are worried about you, and they say, Harry, how's Mike? I see him, he looks sad, he looks angry. Well, he is. We are, right? But how do you deal with this, the mental health aspect of it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think when it's time to be outraged and angry, I'm outraged and angry. But I keep my world very small. I've got very limited interactions with people other than my immediate family. And so, when I'm not out here doing things like this, I'm spending time with my kids, just being a girl dad, and keeping it close, so to speak, making my world as small as humanly possible. But it ain't easy. When the election was over, I really did feel like, okay, listen, I did my best. I spoke out. I told the truth about my experiences and the experiences of so many other police officers on January 6th. And I warned America about, the dangers of making this choice that they've made. They didn't listen, so fuck them. And I'm going to go back to living my life, being a father, and and then Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists, hundreds of violent criminals who assaulted police officers at the Capitol on January 6th, police officers like you see up here on the stage today, but hundreds of other police officers who, regardless of their political ideology, were doing their fucking job. Donald Trump sent them there to assault those individuals, and he pardoned them. He pardoned them. And I'll tell you why he pardoned them. He pardoned them because he wants people to know that if you commit crimes on his behalf, he's got your back. Yeah. And so now what we have in this country is we have Donald Trump's personal brown shirt militia. We have the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and the Proud Boys, who are no different than the brown shirts of the neo-Nazi era. And they are operating under the assumption that if they commit violent criminal acts on Donald Trump's behalf, that he will pardon them for future violence. And so I understand people's fear, but don't skip over the outrage and the anger and go straight to fear. Listen, I'm fearful. I don't know what Donald Trump might do. I don't know what the fuck Kash Patel might do. And I don't know what this clown Ed Martin, who's now the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia, might do. These are insurrectionists. Let's be very clear. Yes. Fucking traitors. And they're running the show. So, Those of us that love democracy and American freedoms and are true patriots are now, unfortunately, in the minority of those who are politically active in this country. But we need to hold on to the outrage and hold on to the anger and set aside the fear in knowing that there are millions of us who are all like-minded, who all feel the outrage and the anger and a little bit of the fear. But if we all stick together and stand up against this tyranny in this country, that I believe that we have the opportunity or the ability to overcome it. And I'm not an optimistic person. Let me tell you. You know, I think I went on for a bit.
No, that was great. That was great. Wow. I'm glad that Michael touched on fear. Christopher Wray categorized properly those individuals on January 6th were domestic terrorists. That's what they were. It's what they are. Terrorism, a terrorist's number one goal is to create instability and what? Fear. So if we're fearful, they win. Now, I'm not naive. Like a lot of these guys are sitting up here. I'm not naive to think these guys are crazy. We've already seen what they're capable of. But I got a little bit crazy in me, too. Right? Next question, Sergeant Gonnell. Sergeant Gonnell came to the United States as an immigrant. The people, the immigrants who make our country great, that Donald Trump's trying to get rid of. He served his country more in a day in the military than some people have done their entire lives. He earned the right to be called a patriot. He earned it. Listen, a lot of us are American citizens because of where we were born. Not Sergeant Gonnell. He immigrated here. He did the work. So let me ask you, Sergeant Gonnell, when you hear these people refer to themselves as patriots, they're the patriots. They're the political prisoners. They're the hostages. As somebody who had to earn their citizenship, wasn't granted to him because he was born here. He had to earn it. How does that make you feel as an immigrant who earned it? Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. It's very hard and challenging to hear that from them because on January 6th, they were saying the same thing. And at some point, they even said to me or to the crowd, there were officers who were next to me, "You're not even American." And that's challenging. I know I did 8 years in the military here in the U.S., now the Dominican military, for those who don't understand. I went to Iraq. I was sent over to, and I fulfilled my duties. Whether I got there not believing the mission, I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was told. So I did keep my oath then, and I did the same thing on January 6th. For those people who tell themselves that they were patriots on January 6th, I'm going to use Michael Fanone's word. Fuck them. You know? Because these are the same individuals that tell themselves that they're the good guys on that day. And they call themselves hostages, political prisoners, or when they want to be the victims, and then when they want to be seen as the heroes, they call themselves heroes, patriots, warriors. And ultimately, if you take either of those connotations, who are they fighting against? Who's the victim? Who's doing the victimization to them? Who are they fighting against? It was us. Yeah. And last time I checked, we were the one with the authority to be there and fulfill an oath defending the Capitol on January 6th, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And one last thing, we did it without thinking about democracy. We're just doing our jobs. And that's very hard and it creates a moral injury. I talk about that a lot because we did what we were supposed to do regardless of who was doing the attacking. And I expected better from those elected officials who were running for their lives on January 6th and only made it out to safety to their refuge area because we risked our lives.
Yeah.
We risked our lives protecting them, and we did it to the point that Michael Fanone got dragged to the mob. I nearly got dragged into the mob. Hodges also was getting crushed. So we did what he expected of us, to the point that we were risking our lives, and we were resigned to do that day.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Sergeant Gonnell brings up a great point of the people we were protecting in that building. Didn't care if it was AOC, didn't care if it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. We did our job because our job was to protect a seat of government. Like everybody asked me in the aftermath, how do you keep working at the Capitol when so many people deny what you went through, deny your experiences? How do you do it? How do you keep protecting them? I mean, we got name checked on Fox News and Newsmax by members of Congress, and they're walking past me the next day. Hey, officer, do you know who I am? You just literally shitted on me on Newsmax. And you just walk by and say thank you. But it's not about the individual, right? It's about protecting the seat of Congress that they represent. And what does that seat represent? It represents us. That seat, God willing, is going to exist 100 years after any member is dead. It existed 100 years before they were born. It's not about the person. It's about that seat, these institutions. We got to protect them. They're worth fighting for. Daniel Hodges. Got to mess with Danny a little bit. We're out and about. Aquilino speaks with a funny accent. You can laugh, it's fine. Mike, very noticeable, his tattoos and his grit and F-bombs. I'm a giant. Danny's a regular looking white guy that blends into any crowd, right? He just blends in. So we're out, Danny's like, I'm fine. They're gonna recognize y'all, not me. Like. But Danny, I will say, Danny is here. He's speaking in his own capacity and not representative of the District of Columbia, because he's still a police officer. But I do want to ask you about that, Danny. You're the only one of us that's still an officer. You're the only one. Do you ever think, especially like with the FOP and their support, and so many of our former, your current brothers and sisters that are adamant and staunch supporters of Donald Trump, do you ever think, this ain't for me? Why are you still there? What gives you the drive, not to be there, and to say, not lose your shit, like seeing the FOP support Donald Trump? How do you navigate that?
Well, if I were to leave, then that would be one fewer voice of reason within the ranks. Yeah. And that's how we're going to win the long game, right? We need to reach out to these people, no matter how ill-informed or what kind of questionable ethics they may have, what kind of questionable worldview. We need to be someone that they can respect and make a connection with them and show them the error of their ways somehow, try to get them out of that cult. Because if we don't, this culture war is never going to end. So if I left, that would just make their worldview even more insular. And that's how this never ends. Practically speaking, I'm there because my day-to-day life isn't really filled with politics. I'm a patrol officer. I go out, I take 911 calls, go into people's houses, try and solve their problems that they can't solve themselves. With regards to the FOP, and yeah, that was absolutely heartbreaking when the national FOP came out and endorsed Trump for whatever reason. It's my understanding that the only lodges that did not were DC and Maryland. Every other lodge voted to endorse Trump. I don't really understand why after everything is done. But it's up to us to be paragons of what we choose to do in life. And I try my best to be an excellent police officer so that when we have discussions with our colleagues over things like politics, then they can't put down my opinion or disregard it based on my lack of professionalism or my lack of ethics or any other indiscriminate reason. They have to contend with my ideas because there's no other way for them to disregard me.
Two things stood out from that. Enrique Tarrio got arrested yesterday. Y'all see that?
To return to the crime scene.
I'm gonna let y'all in on like a sixth sense of humor because you gotta laugh to keep from crying kind of thing. So when I watched the video of him being arrested, I recognized the officer in the video and I texted him and I said, "Can I smell your fingers?" Right? Like it's like, you know. But good for that officer, you know, good, I mean, you know, good for it. And the second thing that stands out, Danny Hodges, like I said, he's the only one that's still working as an officer. On the inauguration, he was there protecting Donald Trump supporters, making sure they're safe, when 4 years ago, they were trying to kill him. You're talking about putting country over party and patriotism. That's the epitome of it right there. And also, Danny is a human thesaurus. I don't even know if y'all caught this or not, but he said the word paragons. What the hell is a paragon? Can you tell me?
Paragon is exemplary.
Paragon, I even said it wrong, gee.
Yeah, you did. You did say it wrong. Well,
See? See? Nah, thank you. I will ask a question for all three of y'all, same question. And I'm sure you're gonna, well, at least one of y'all is gonna have the same answer as I did. Donald Trump invites you to the White House next week. Hold on. Yeah, crazy, right? Like, Donald Trump invites you to the White House. You know what? January 6th has been going on far too long. Let's bring these officers in. Let's talk to them. One, do you take the meeting? Two, what do you say, not do? What do you say to him if you do? Mike?
it's a trap.
It's a trap. I'm sure a lot of y'all have that question, so. Mike?
Yeah, so it's been 4 years since, the insurrection at the Capitol. And I think just like these guys, and probably like a lot of Americans, I've had an evolution of feelings. I went through my kumbaya phase. I went through we got to work with these people, and these are our fellow Americans. Fuck that. The only thing we need to do is defeat MAGA.
Yeah.
That's it. We need to defeat MAGA. And we need to make sure that every insurrectionist member of Congress and member of our government is ousted and never holds office ever again. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, you know,
There's more.
I have absolutely nothing to say to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I have no desire to convince him, nor do I believe that he is capable of being convinced. The man's a sociopath. So my response to the White House and to Donald Trump would be, Donald Trump, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. 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 No notes. Yeah. Sergeant Gonnell.
That's tough to follow.
It's tough to follow, right?
He covered almost every basis, man. I mean, I don't know. I think, you know, I probably would decline it because, partly because never I ever thought that here in America we need a pardon to do the right thing. And Biden offered that. I didn't refuse it. I didn't request it. But never did I think I would need that for doing the right thing, for standing up for myself, doing the thing that I would sign up for, defending the Capitol, defending elected officials, defending our democracy. And I think I'll refuse it, and, you know, because every single time he has a chance to refer to Capitol Police officers and Metropolitan Police, we are thugs to him. And the patriots are the insurrectionists. Yeah. The unjustly mistreated people are the one that he pardons. Yeah. And they can even get themselves to put a plaque with our names on it. At the Capitol, Speaker Mike Johnson still refused to, even though the law. He's defined the law that says put up the names of the officers, not the agencies.
Yeah.
When does Donald Trump ever follow the law?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a trap, like somebody said. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Bring my lawyer if I ever do. I don't think I will. You know.
Shout out to our lawyer, Mark Zaid, who Donald Trump took his security clearance away. Shout out to Mark.
And not only that,
Hi, Mark.
the one last thing I would say is, it's not just the way he refers to the officers, but what his administration now is doing with the FBI agents and the prosecutors, people who are actually doing their job, their task, protecting our democracy and the rule of law. Those are things that he's running against. He's not standing up with the rule of law and the Constitution. Yeah. So to them, the Constitution is unconstitutional at this point.
We're going to get into that next, but I want to hear Danny's answer.
Yeah, I mean, emotionally, I feel the same way as the other guys. I have nothing to say to Donald Trump. He's made his allegiances very clear through his actions, and it's not to the United States. Russia or anyone who flatters him or anyone who increases his wealth. Yeah. That's what he cares about. Yeah. As an aside, that's why he likes to communicate that he's a fan of law enforcement. He doesn't actually like law enforcement. What he likes is anyone who can secure his power. And that because the voters put him in power, that's, you know, law enforcement's job until the voters remove him from power, is to secure him. So that's why he enjoys his photo ops. He doesn't actually like the police. Yeah. But with regards to your question, I mean, intellectually, I feel like, what are you doing? This is my turn to talk. Okay. Yeah, intellectually, I feel like when the other side holds all the cards, they have all the power right now, you can't be static. You have to create opportunities to seek vulnerabilities and exploit them. And if I got an invitation to the White House, I wouldn't want to go, but it would make strategic sense for me to go and just see what happens. I mean, I'd leave my personal cell phone at home, I'd wear a wire. But you gotta take advantage of every opportunity you can to try and get vulnerabilities out of the enemy, because that's what Donald Trump is the enemy. And you need to exploit those opportunities whenever you can. So maybe I would go and see what happens.
Gotcha. This is the last part I want to get to. Let's talk about the big lie. There are people that's going on right now. They're purging the databases, the files, the agents, they're purging the agents to try to cover up what happened. Not cover up, erase it. Get your white out, it never happened. Or black marker, redacted, January 6th, everything about it redacted. It didn't happen. Why do you think Trump, this is for each of y'all, why do you think Trump is working so hard to erase it? Is it because he knows he's guilty? Is it embarrassing to him? Or is he doing it so he can do it again? Our former chief of the Capitol Police spoke at CPAC yesterday to Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly has spent the last 4 years shitting on all of us right here and sending her followers on the cesspool, formerly known as Twitter, to fill our lives and emails and death threats and just the most defamatory stuff you can imagine. And our former chief sat down and interviewed with her yesterday. Slap in the face. But why do you think they're doing that? All three of y'all. Mike?
Get it out, Mike.
Well, Donald Trump runs a country like a crime boss. And, anytime a criminal has an opportunity to destroy potentially incriminating evidence, that's what they're going to do. Donald Trump knows exactly what he did in the weeks and months leading up to January 6th. He knows that he lied about the 2020 election results, and so do all of his, immediate supporters. That being said, it was that lie that spawned January 6th and brought all these people to the United States Capitol, assaulting police officers and such. Will it happen again? Well, Donald Trump is the president now, and but I don't think that we're done experiencing violence in this country. Again, going back to what I had said earlier, these pardons, it wasn't just some personal attack on any one of the officers that was assaulted that day and whose assaulter may have been imprisoned. It was a message to individuals, these militia types, who are willing to commit acts of violence for the MAGA movement. And the message was clear, and it was, if you commit acts of violence, you will not be held criminally accountable. And so I believe that this is only the beginning, and that, as chaotic as this first month has been, it ain't shit compared to what we're going to experience in this country. And that's why I think it's important that we begin to act now, not wait for the midterm elections. This defeating MAGA is not a political movement. It's not about politicians. I don't see any politicians that are the standard bearer for this. This is about the American people. This is about decency and wanting to live in an America that is compassionate and empathetic and where we have human decency. Unfortunately, you can't defeat MAGA with compassion and empathy, and, somebody's going to have to get punched in the face. Proverbially.
Proverbially.
Yeah.
We are not condoning violence. Proverbially, what he
But
said.
I think it's important that the American people ready themselves for a fight, a real fight.
Metaphorically, no.
Okay. If that motherfucker could say it, I think I could say it. But and it's probably going to be the fight of our lives. And it is going to require each and every one of us that loves democracy in this country to be willing to give everything for this fight. Yeah. I've seen a lot of speakers come through here, and I'll tell you, the one common denominator that I find in people that are willing to be, out front, so to speak, is the absolute destruction in their personal and professional lives. I used to sign my books, "The Truth Will Set You Free from Employment." And that, nothing has proven truer in these past 4 years. If you go and look at all of these patriotic, decent Americans who stood up to this madness, and to see the personal destruction that they've experienced. And so prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves to give as much as we have given, because that, unfortunately, is going to be what it takes.
Sergeant Gonnell, why do you think that they are trying their best to cover up, erase what we went through?
Because he's culpable, because he's covering the crimes that his people, his supporters, did on his behalf. And I think no matter the pardons, a lot of people watch what happened. They cannot erase that. Yeah. I know I can. It doesn't matter whether they got pardons or not. I know that I did my best to support and bring out the truth, my experience, and tell the people that way they could learn about it. But a lot of people remain silent. A lot of people remain on the sideline for whatever reason. Some of them for political, some of them because they didn't want to be the target of his ire. But guess what? He's taking your jobs now. So you don't want to be the target, but he's indirectly you're being affected by all his policies. And that says a lot. I think for me, I'm at the point of like Michael, unless it's some event like this, I try to live my life. I went to the Metropolitan, to care for my grandmother who was sick, and I just came back 2 days ago. And I'm like, do I really want to go back to that shit? It's hard because over there I'm a little more sane, not paying attention to politics or the outrage of the day, like we all do, and that's hard. He's trying to erase what we went through. He can, and that's very challenging.
Gotcha. Danny, same question. Why do you think that he's trying so hard to erase what happened on January 6th?
I mean, they're trying so hard to erase what happened because there's so much evidence and common sense that points to them being in the wrong. And that runs contrary to the reality that they're trying to construct, where they are the patriots, where they did the right thing. They can't contend with the actual reality because to confront that would destroy this entire self-image that they've based themselves on and just crumble them. And very few people have the strength to come to terms with that, especially when they've got this community that's just creating feedback on each other and supporting each other the entire time. It really is a cult. Yeah. So they have to annihilate all this evidence and create new facts to support the idea that they were correct, that they were in the right, not just because it matters in getting more votes the next time around, but because it's the only way that they can live with themselves.
Gotcha. You got one more? Hold on, I got you. Gotcha. So we're coming up on time. I do want to give the officers a minute or so to give some final thoughts, some final remarks about what to be hopeful for. Should we be hopeful? What can we do? Mike?
Well, I'm not going to leave you with anything that's going to... This is not a hopeful conclusion story. I'll leave that to the other guys. But I do want to tell you something in what it is that we are up against. So my mother, who's here somewhere in the audience, where you at, Mom? Oh, she's back here. So my mother is, she's a sweet, sweet woman. She goes to church all the time, which she has to. She's got to go for me and for herself. But a couple months ago, she called me up on the phone, and she relayed this story that something that had happened to her several days before. And I'll get to you to why she took several days to tell me, but she was out in her yard. She lives in Virginia, in a suburb, and she was raking her leaves. And she saw a black pickup truck drive past her. And she didn't really notice, other than, his car drove past, but then she saw the vehicle circle back around and come back to the house. The driver of the truck got out, and he was visibly irate, and he began to scream at my mother, making some references to her son being a traitor and to her being a traitor. And he was so angry that he couldn't control himself. And what did he do? He threw a bag of shit on my mom. What kind of fucking savage throws a bag of shit on a 76-year-old woman? That is what MAGA is. That is what MAGA is. So those were my parting words. That's what we're up against. The indecency, the cruelty, the inhumanity of this movement that needs to be purged from America.
Thanks, Mike. Sergeant Gonnell, we're up on time. Sorry, I know. Can you give some last words, thoughts, anything that brings
I'm
hope?
hopeful that one day we'll get to the point, Mike. As hard as it has been for myself and all four of us, if you can, Michael and myself, we have a GoFundMe. Please, if your generosity goes a long way for ourselves and our family to sustain ourselves. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for inviting us here. It seems challenging to what we are up against, but we need to be mindful what we are what we are facing, because now they are saying that Donald Trump could be reelected past 2028 against the Constitution. So be mindful, get educated, know what's going on around you, because eventually we're going to need to stand up, all of us, together, and that's the only way we're going to defeat that movement or his inclinations.
Thank you, Sergeant Gonnell. Danny Hodges, any last parting words for us?
I think the question on everyone's mind is, what can we do now? And the answer to that is really whatever you can. For some of us, that's going to be just having a hard conversation with your relative who's, a member of the MAGA community, or you're a member of your church, or your sports team, whatever it is. For others, it's being an incredibly handsome police officer coming up on stage and telling everyone else not to give up.
He isn't lying. Finish. I'll answer that question too. I want to leave y'all with some of my thoughts. Y'all know who we are. Imagine living your life where everybody in the world knows who you are because of the worst day of your life. We've been carrying this shit around for 4 years. We laugh, we have moments, but shit sucks. Our relationships are forged out of the worst day of our lives. Think about that for a moment. Well, I knew him, yeah. But I go to therapy. My church says mental health matters. I believe in mental health. It's very important. Last week, I took PTSD tests and stuff like that, and my therapist said this was the highest my PTSD has ever been in the last 4 years. So it's wearing on me. I also told her I didn't want to heal. Who the hell doesn't, what? You don't want to get better? What's wrong with you? Not really. Because this anger, this passion is what's driving me. It's driving me. And I feel like if I get over it, then I'll lose that. I'll lose that passion. I'm doing whatever I can. I've been to Wisconsin twice this year already. There's a Supreme Court race out there April 1st. I'm going to Kansas next week to speak to the Democratic State Party in Kansas. 2 weeks after that, I'll be in North Dakota, then back in Wisconsin again. I leave it all on the field, I guess. The only thing you can't do is nothing. I know it's a double negative, right? So English teachers, forgive me. But do something, y'all, do something. And realize who our allies are. They may not be as strong or as vocal or saying the things that you want, but don't abandon them. We need all of our allies in this moment, no matter who they are. So let's stick together. Let's not fight amongst each other. They're the enemy, not us. And let's treat them as such. Love y'all. Thank you. Thank you, guys.